The Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women is an international treaty adopted in 1979 by the United Nations General Assembly. Described as an international bill of rights for women, it was instituted on September 3, 1981, and it has been ratified by 189 countries. The South Rupununi District Council, in its report to Cedaw, said more needs to be done for Indigenous women. The report stated, quote, Ghana must consider the particular case of the Wapishyan and other Indigenous women and intersecting forms of discrimination they endured, end of quote. The South Rupununi District Council highlighted that Indigenous peoples face long-lasting land tenure insecurity since the government left most of the traditional lands unrecognized and untitled. The South Rupununi District Council highlighted that Indigenous peoples face long-lasting land tenure insecurity since the government left most of the traditional lands unrecognized and untitled as a result of the failure to recognize collective territorial rights of Indigenous peoples and the shortcomings in the legislation such as the Amerindian Act. The Council in its report noted that mining activities took place in Indigenous territories without prior informed and free consent and without the participation or agreement of Indigenous peoples. One such case was the mining concession granted to Marutu Tawa and Marudi Mountain, which had special spiritual value to the people. The group opined that women seeking employment had limited opportunities and work in the mining industry is often exploitative. The Indigenous Peoples Group is calling for the United Nations to open dialogue with the government to protect women's rights, especially in the interior locations of Guyana. The women's rights experts is also concerned about the high rate of suicide among girls and asked about efforts to collect data on communicable diseases and to ensure the equal distribution of health personnel across the country in order to reduce maternal mortality rates. Responses to recommendations made by civil society groups from Cedaw should be delivered this week. For the HTP Nightly News, Colin Abrams.